All right, so today we're diving into something that goes way beyond just numbers on a spreadsheet. We're talking about financial stewardship. But, and here's the twist, we're looking at it as a direct path to a life of peace. So yeah, this isn't just a math lesson. It's all about your mindset. Let's explore how that mindset can totally transform our money and help us find that peace.
At the absolute heart of our entire discussion today is this powerful idea from the book of Romans. To be spiritually minded is life and peace. This is our foundation, right? It's this idea that our state of mind, our spiritual focus, is directly linked to whether we experience a life of order and tranquility.
And that's the big question, isn't it? I mean, it's pretty easy to see how a spiritual mindset could affect our relationships or our inner calm. But our bank account? Well, it turns out the connection is incredibly direct. So let's explore that.
First up, let's just look at this core idea, a mindset for peace. Because honestly, how we handle our money is so often a direct reflection of what's really happening inside our minds.
This slide really breaks down the two paths described in Romans perfectly. A spiritually minded approach leads to life and peace. In our finances, that looks like order, planning, and clarity. But a carnally minded approach, one that's impulsive, short-sighted, and just plain disorganized, that leads straight to chaos. And think about it. Debt, stress, overdraft fees, that's a pretty clear picture of financial chaos.
So how do we actually cultivate that peaceful mindset? Well, it all starts with a very ancient, very wise principle. First, count the cost. You know, Jesus himself used this analogy. Before you build something big, you have to plan. You have to know what resources you actually have. It's a call for being intentional, for looking ahead, not just when you're building towers, but when you're building your very life. And this really gets to the heart of it all. Tracking our finances isn't just some good habit. It's a form of stewardship. It's about taking seriously the resources we've been given and managing them in a way that honors God and, brings peace to our own lives.
So if we're going to count the cost, we need a method. Let's call it your financial diary. It's technically called a check register, but I just love this description, a money diary. That's exactly what it is. A simple, running log that gives you a perfect, up-to-the-minute record of every single dollar you have. No more guessing, no estimating, just the facts. And it's incredibly simple. You're really just tracking three things. You've got deposits, which is any money coming in. You've got withdrawals, any money going out, doesn't matter if it's a card, cash, or a check. And finally, transfers, if you move money between accounts. That's it. That's the whole shebang.
Okay, so now let's see this money diary, this stewardship in action. This is where the principle becomes a real practice. Okay, so take a look at this sample register. We're starting off with an opening balance. On July 1st, we know for a fact we have exactly $100. This is our starting point, our ground zero. Then, on July 2nd, a transaction happens. A trip to the grocery store costs $30. This gets recorded immediately as a withdrawal. You subtract it and boom, the new exact balance is $70. There is zero ambiguity. You know precisely what you have left. And this illustrates the full picture perfectly. The next day, a $20 deposit comes in. It's added to the balance, and now you have $90. See? Every single transaction updates the total. You always have a true, accurate picture of your financial reality. That right there is financial clarity. But what happens when we skip this simple discipline? Well, the consequences can be pretty significant, and they reveal the real danger of forgetting. And here we are again, looking at those two paths, laid out so clearly. On one side, you have wise planning, using your money diary, and that brings clarity and peace of mind. On the other side, you have forgetting, which leads directly to confusion, overspending, and those awful, dreaded bank fees. This is the practical cost of that disorganized mindset. You end up spending money you thought you had, but didn't. That leads to overdraft fees, which is literally just throwing money away. And maybe worst of all, you might find you don't have enough for what truly matters, all because of a simple lack of tracking. So let's bring all this together now, because this simple tool is really a gateway to something so much bigger. It's wisdom for life. Ultimately, this practice builds more than just a balanced budget. It builds character. When you manage the small things faithfully, you build a foundation of integrity and responsibility. It proves you can be trusted with more.
It's a discipline that really shapes who you are.
And so we come full circle, right back to our guiding principle. Having a spiritually ordered mind produces a life of peace. And, as we've seen, having an ordered financial life through simple stewardship is a powerful, tangible expression of that spiritual peace. The two are just so deeply connected.
So, I'll leave you with this question. This isn't just a math trick. It's a spiritual discipline disguised as a practical tool. How will you take this idea of a money diary and use it not just to manage your money, but to actively build a life of greater peace and integrity?